चैतन्य मनोगम येन भूतले स्वयं रूपदा मह्यम ददाति स पदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापद्कमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं सागरजातां सहगना रघुनाथामृतं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनाः सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखामृतां स नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नाम्ने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी विचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादिपासादिस्थाने वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदाय कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरसे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपशगोपिकान्त राधा कान्त नमस्ते तत्कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नीलाचलनिवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय च नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। So can we go little ahead today? It's like no around 9:30 till that time, if devotees permit. Then we can complete the entire chapter. If devotees are busy with Nisantardasi, then we'll have tomorrow also.
Prabhu, one small suggestion, Prabhu. Probably tomorrow, anyhow, we have a class, right? Tomorrow class, we can push half an hour addition.
Okay, means we may complete today only. That's the reason I was asking.
Oh, okay. Entire NOD is going to complete today?
Mostly
okay.
Because
then it's okay. Because today auspicious day, let's at least we'll close.
yeah. Because most probably it should finish today only. Because Bhav Prem generally we don't read very elaborately. Already Raghavanaga Bhakti is over.
Okay.
So I'll just share with all of you. So now we'll entering into the Bhav Bhakti. That's chapter number 17. Okay. So Susaka Arjun Prabhu is saying that can we extend tomorrow? Okay, fine. Then we'll have till 9 and let us see how much we can cover.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay.
That's all. So the third wave, that's called Bhav Bhakti. So in Sadhana Bhakti, we had Vedi Sadhana Bhakti and Raghavanaga Sadhana Bhakti. Now, beyond that is Bhava Bhakti. And because that is the goal of Sadhana Bhakti. Krita Sadha, Bhavya Sadha, Bhava. So Sadhana Bhakti is when we act through the senses and gradually the emotions evolve. So Sadhana Bhakti results in Bhava Bhakti. So somebody can just read.
Hare Krishna. As mentioned in chapter 2, the purpose of sadhana bhakti is to awaken bhava. Thus, Srila Prabhupada explains, in the previous chapters, the symptoms of devotional service were explained along with the instructions as to how we may execute devotional service with our present senses and gradually raise to the platform of ecstasy in spontaneous love. Clearly, bhava is the goal, sadhya of our devotional practice, sadhana. Srila Prabhupada says, within the stage of the regulative principles of devotional service, there are two divisions, namely executive and effective. The effective portion of devotional service is called bhava or ecstasy. Sadhana is executive because it involves execution of devotional practice. Bhava is effective because it is the effect of the practice. Srila Prabhupada says that both sadhana and bhava are within the stage of the regulative principles of devotional service. The phrase regulative principles of devotional service is a translation of Cheshta Rupa, not Vaidhi Sadhana. The next paragraph will explain this. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So we execute devotional service so that gradually we come to the level of bhava. So bhava, you can say, is the result of our practice. That means having those emotions for Krishna. So we start beginning feeling emotions. Because many times devotee have questioned, oh, that feeling doesn't come, feeling doesn't come. Actually, feeling is the goal. So it takes time to come. So now this Uttam Bhakti, or the perfected devotional service, of two types, Chesta Rupa and Bhav Rupa. Chesta Rupa means by endeavors. So there's two types. It's like sadhana and sadhya. So one is endeavors which cause bhava, that's sadhana. So Vedi sadhana, Raganuga sadhana, both come in that platform only. And sadhya means goal. So those endeavors which are effect of bhava is called sadhya. And the bhav rup means especially emotions. We'll just read them. So you can just read. There are two divisions.
There are two divisions of pure devotional service. Chesta Rupa, devotional service executed with one's endeavors, and Bhava Rupa, devotional service executed with one's emotions.
Yeah. So endeavors means actually we like it, don't like it, we do it. That's called endeavor. And in Bhav, the emotions drive the action. So there's a difference. So when emotions drive the actions, one doesn't have to work. It's like people do it naturally. But when we say endeavoring means something which is not natural, we are doing that. Please read. Within the stage of regulative.
Within the stage of regulative principles of devotional service, there are two divisions, namely executive and effective. This indicates that there are two subdivisions of Chesta Rupa: executive, endeavors that cause bhava, and effective, endeavors that result from bhava. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So endeavors that cause bhava are called executive, and effective is endeavors that result from bhava. That means because of that bhava that results come. So there's a sadhana and there is a sadhya. Sadhya is the result. Now this is like definition of Bhava Bhakti. You can repeat after me. This is also given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Suddha Sattva Visheshatma.
Suddha Sattva
Visheshatma.
Prema Suryam Susam Bhag.
Prema Suryam Susamya Bhag.
Ruchves Chittamasranya.
Ruchves Chittamasranya.
Krita Svabhava Uchyate.
Krita Svabhava Uchyate.
Please read.
When devotional service is situated on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like a ray of the sunlight of love for Krishna. At such a time, devotional service causes the heart to be softened by various states, and it is called bhava, emotion. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 23.5.
So it's like a dawn. It's like the time when the first rays of sunlight strike the earth. So sun has not visible. Like sunlight, there is a sunlight comes even before the sun is visible. So that is the platform of bhav. So sun may not be visible, but the sunlight is there. So that is how similarly bhav means that Krishna Prem is just arising. It has not fully arisen, it is not visible, but it has just arisen. So these are primary characteristics.
The primary characteristics of bhava is Suddha Sattva Visheshatma. It is the stage wherein Suddha Sattva enters the devotee's heart. Suddha Sattva is not the material mode of goodness, but the Lord's internal potency, whose functions is to revive the living entity's dormant love for Krishna. A dormant seed cannot grow without being touched by the sun's energy of the heart and light. heat and light. Similarly, love of Godhead, prema, is like a seed lying dormant in the heart of every living entity. It can grow without the touch of the Lord's own devotional energy, Suddha Sattva. When a person eagerly wants to serve the Lord, the Suddha Sattva potency may enter his heart through the mercy of a pure devotee. When Suddha Sattva touches the heart, it energizes the seed of prema and causes it to sprout Ankura. Consequently, Sri Rupa Goswami describes Bhava as Premankura, the first sprout of prema. Hare Krishna.
So it's like when the seed sprout, we'll see some white portion comes a little bit outside. So that is like bhava. And what is Suddha Sattva basically? Suddha Sattva is the transcendental mode of goodness. So there is mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. And Suddha Sattva is the transcendental mode of goodness. That means in that situation, person is no more under the clutches of three modes of material nature. Now he has directly come under the spiritual potency of the Lord. So that is why at the level of bhav, the only anartha which remains is spiritual anartha, not the material anartha. So what is spiritual anartha? That is aparadh. So only aparadh can create trouble, but material piety, material sin, they can't trouble a devotee at all at the level of bhav. So in such a situation, if somebody has a fall down, that means it's because of aparadh only. Like in the case of Bharat Maharaj. So Bharat Maharaj, he was on the level of bhav when he became very attracted to the deer. So this is like very, very advanced level. Yeah. So Suddha Sattva. Please read. Bhava.
Bhava is prema, but in the preliminary budding state, this is also indicated by the terms prema suryamshu, a ray of the sun of prema. Bhava is the sun ray, prema is the sun itself. The sun and sun rays are qualitatively non-different, but there is a distinction in quantitative intensity. Bhava is the one set of prema, as dawn is the onset of day. When the first rays of the dawn appear, one can be sure that the full light of the sun will soon rise. Similarly, when one achieves bhava, the full light of prema will manifest very quickly. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So when bhava comes, prema is soon going to come, very soon appearing. So how this Suddha Sattva descends? Yeah. Other devotees who are active can also read. I don't know how many devotees are active.
According to Srila Rupa Goswami, Suddha Sattva is composed of the Samvit and Hladini potencies of the Lord. Samvit is the cognitive or knowledge-giving potency. Hladini is the devotional potency. Samvit Sakti, the Lord's own cognitive potency, descends into the heart and empowers one to perceive and know Krishna. The Lord's devotional potency, Hladini Shakti, also descends into the devotee's heart, empowering one to fully manifest blissful love of Godhead. When the divine potencies of cognition and affection, Samvit and Hladini, combine in the heart, one can begin to fully relish Krishna as a supreme object of love. This is Bhava Bhakti, the awakening of love of God.
Yeah. So, Samvit, Sandhini, Hladini. Sandhini is the eternity potency, Samvit is the knowledge potency, and Hladini is the bliss-giving potency. So knowledge and bliss, spiritual bliss potency, they combined together, they are called Suddha Sattva. So they descend in the heart. Because as far as eternity is concerned, fine, our body may not be eternal, but one experiences the knowledge of Krishna and that affection for Krishna. So both knowledge and affection come in the heart of devotee. So these two things were given. Ruchibis chitta masranya krita sava bhava uchyate. So these two effects are that bhava softens the heart. Heart becomes very soft. And it also gives rise to various taste. Taste means mellows. So initially we may not be having different feelings and emotions for Krishna, but different emotions start dancing in the heart. So what is the softening of the heart? Please read softening of the heart.
A soft heart is one easily moved or changed by emotion. The Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.24 describes this. Certainly the heart is steel framed, which in spite of chanting the holy name with concentration, does not change when ecstasy takes place and tears fill the eyes and hairs stand on end. Srila Prabhupada explains, in this connection, there is a statement in the Tantras that ecstasy is the first symptom of pure love for the personality of Godhead. And in that state, one is something found shedding tears of shivering. Page number 131. In this quote, Srila Prabhupada first defines the primary characteristics of bhava by saying that ecstasy, bhava, is the first symptom of pure love of God at prema. He then defines its secondary characteristics by saying that one's heart softens to such an extent that he is often found to be a visible moved by emotions. In brief, the characteristics of a devotee on the platform of bhava is that his heart is very easily moved by Krishna conscious stimulation. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. See why it is given secondary. Secondary means when primary things come, these are like consequences. But just by seeing the consequences, it's not necessary that primary thing is happening. So primary thing is that one is conquered, one is conquered by samvid and ladini potency, then automatically heart becomes very soft. Person is easily moved by Krishna consciousness. Very nice when kirtans are there, deities are there, one becomes very much moved. But just because these things are there doesn't mean that the primary thing is there. That's why to judge the emotions of others or oneself and say that, oh, he's in bhav, very difficult. So we'll come to reliable symptoms after in the next chapter. So this is the consequence of having being affected by samvid and ladini potency. So that's why Rupa Goswami explained this as secondary, not the primary. It's like by eating, one feels satisfied. But just because somebody is feeling satisfied doesn't mean that one has eaten. He may be satisfied with something else also. So three kinds of taste that blossom in the heart of devotee. One is prapti abhilasa. One has desire to achieve Krishna like anything. Now it becomes very intense. Somehow or the other, I want to get Krishna. Like Mahaprabhu would say that, Kothai javo, kaha pavo, Vijendra Nandan. Where will I get Vijendra Nandan? Krishna. And so this is one thing, one wants to achieve Krishna. Second is anukula abhilasa, means there is a desire to please Krishna by various services. So now we may be doing it as a duty. Okay, we will not take non-prasad, outside thing, we'll just take prasad only. But it's more of a duty. But at that time, person naturally wants to please Krishna. So he'll cook different bhoga, try to please Krishna, make different garlands and try to please Krishna, or by other services. So, but desire to please Krishna is very strong. And suharda abhilasa means one wants Krishna to be close to his heart. And it's like one also wants to know whether Krishna is, it's like I'm close to Krishna or not. So that is what happens. Yeah. Yes. Nature of bhav. What is that nature of bhav?
When bhava appears, it permeates one's consciousness to such an extent that It appears to become one with the mind. Just as iron rod placed in fire eventually becomes permeated by the qualities of fire to such an extent that they appear to become one. This condition is called Tad Atmaka. Srila Prabhupada describes this state as Samadhi. After the outward appearance of these ecstatic symptoms, they stay within the mind, and a continuation of the ecstasy is called Samadhi. Bhava is relishable by nature, and it also causes one to taste and realize the sweet pastimes of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada thus states, this stage of appreciation becomes the cause of future exchanges of loving affairs with the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So at bhava, so externally there will be ecstatic symptoms. And when an ecstasy continues, that's called samadhi. So this is a samadhi for devotee, which is much different than the samadhi of the, you can say, Ashtanga yogis. Ashtanga yogis, they are absorbed in Supreme Paramatma within the heart. But devotees, they are absorbed in Krishna. So this particular bhav is more active as compared to that of Ashtanga yogis. Yes. And of course, bhav has different rasas also, whereas they have only santaras. They just appreciate the greatness of the Lord. So it's iron put into fire becomes like fire.
That one's consciousness will appears to become one with mind. Can you explain the proof? They have written it permeates on consciousness to such an extent that it becomes one with mind.
One with mind means actually what happens is our mind is material. Mind, intelligence, ego, they are material. Consciousness is spiritual. So now all the mind, intelligence, ego, and everything becomes spiritualized. Rather, actually speaking, practically speaking, the mental body, that's the meaning of material body becoming disappearing. So there's a verse in Bhagavatam 3rd canto that says, Jarayati asuva kosam nigirna manilam yatha. Like fire of digestion within the belly consumes the food. Similarly, the practice of Krishna consciousness, when it's very intense, it consumes the subtle body. So example is given of coconut. When coconut is wet, then the water of the coconut, it causes the pulp to be connected to the outside, that hard part. But when coconut is dry, the pulp is separated from the hard part. So this water can be compared to subtle body. Pulp can be compared to soul. And outside hard part can be compared to gross body. So then one starts feeling that I am not the body, I am in the body. So now the spiritual mind starts working, not the material mind. So spiritual mind becomes practically, or material mind becomes spiritualized. It's like iron put in fire. So we can't say it is any more a material mind, it's as good as spiritual mind only. I hope that answers the questions. Yeah.
Prabhu, just to repeat that coconut, outside shell is the gross body, coconut pulp is the soul. Water is what?
Subtle body.
Subtle body. Okay.
So practically speaking, subtle body disappeared, it becomes spiritualized, dried up. It will no more have any impressions of sense gratification. It has complete impressions of only spiritual practices.
So it's like when you completely think of Krishna, then it's like
Yes.
your soul and your mind is on track.
Yes. So one can't think of anything else than Krishna. Nothing else. So there are two ways of achieving bhava. So one is by spiritual practices, which is in general, and another is kripa, by mercy. So elevation to this stage of ecstasy can be possible in two ways. One is by constant association with pure devotees. Other is by special mercy of Krishna or the mercy of pure devotee. So general is association of pure devotee. That means the way we are doing. And by mercy is a special case. So somebody can read from just here to here. Srila Prabhupada uses.
Srila Prabhupada uses the term association with pure devotees synonymously with executing the practice of devotional service. A pure devotee has no business other than hearing and chanting about Krishna. Therefore, associating with a pure devotee automatically implies practicing devotional service. Srila Prabhupada states, it is essential, therefore, that one constantly associate with pure devotees who are engaged morning and evening in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. In this way, one will get a chance to purify his heart and develop this ecstatic, pure love for Krishna. Page number 33. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So that's why association of pure devotees. That means like by associating with them, we will want to become like them, and that is how we start executing devotion service, and then one gets bhav. So that's a very advanced stage. Now here we can see two types are there. One is by mercy, another is by practice. Now practice is also of two types. So directly by Vaidhi sadhana bhakti or through Raganuga sadhana bhakti. So this is something which is very different for us and other sampradaya. Other sampradayas, generally they don't go to the level of bhava via the path of Raganuga sadhana bhakti. Whereas Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they go through Raganuga sadhana bhakti. So that difference between coming to the level of bhava from sadhana bhakti through Vaidhi sadhana bhakti directly or Raganuga sadhana bhakti. So we'll see the difference. And mercy is in a different way. That's like anybody can come to any extent at any level by mercy of Krishna or pure devotees. But that is not something which generally happens.
Can you explain that again to Vaidhi and Raganuga Bhava?
So Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, we generally, okay, I'll go in detail now, maybe just after this. So you can read this Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, then I'll explain.
Narada Muni's life story is an example of someone who achieves bhava by the way of Vaidhi sadhana. Narada's service to the Bhakti Vedantas may be considered Vaidhi because it was motivated not by his specific attraction to Krishna, but by obligation to the injunction of Shastra. Serving these great souls, he got the opportunity to regularly hear Krishna Katha from their lips, and by this regulated hearing, he achieved the level of bhava. Again, it is apparent that Vaidhi Bhakti is not something to be made light of. We find that Vaidhi Bhakti also leads to a type of bhava, and even the most exalted Narada Muni practices it. The example of Narada Muni confirms that bhava is a precursor to prema. Srila Prabhupada explains this ecstatic love is prior to pure love of Krishna, because in the next verse, Narada confirms that by the gradual process of hearing from the great sages, he developed love of Godhead.
To further support? Yeah.
To further support that one can achieve bhava by repeatedly listening to the discourses of pure devotees, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes Lord Kapila Dev. Srila Prabhupada sums up the essence of this quote. When a realized soul who is engaged in the service of the Lord is speaking, he has the potency to inject spiritual life within the audience. One should therefore seek the association of such pure, unalloyed devotees, and by such association and service, a neophyte devotee will certainly develop attachment, love, and devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah. So what happens is, gradually, just by going through Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, that means the inspiration coming from the Guru Sadhu Shastra, when one achieves bhava without going through the Raganuga sadhana bhakti path, This is something in which one doesn't get Vraja Bhav, that Bhav which is there in Vrindavan. So this is different for different path which is generally practiced by, or you can say this is a path which is in normal path. I was a little different. Normal path which generally most of the sampradayas practice. But our devotee, they practice after Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, Raghavanaga sadhana bhakti. So without practicing Raghavanaga sadhana bhakti also one can come to Bhava bhakti. So that is the first path. But when one goes to Bhava by Raghavanaga sadhana bhakti, then one gets the love of Vrajavasis. So that is what is explained here. We'll read it now. Please read the quote from Padma Puran.
The quote from Padma Purana is an example of bhava attained through Raghanuga sadhana. In this story, a lady named Chandrakanti saw the deity of Krishna, which aroused her desire to dance with Krishna throughout the night. Her dancing is an example of Raghanuga sadhana bhakti because she desired to develop the sentiments of the Ragatmikas, namely the gopis of Raja. By this Raghanuga sadhana, she achieved bhava, evidenced by the fact that she remained dancing all night without wasting a moment on rest. This reluctance to waste time is a symptom of bhava known as avyakta kalavatam.
Yeah, so this Raghavanaga sadhana bhakti, she achieved bhav through Raghavanaga sadhana bhakti. So this is something which Mahaprabhu came and Nityananda Prabhu came to give here in this world. So this Raga Marga was not available in the previous ages. So Krishna cannot be achieved by Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Krishna can be achieved only through Raghavanaga sadhana bhakti. So through Raghavanaga sadhana bhakti, when one achieves bhava, only by that path one can achieve Krishna. But this Raghavanaga sadhana bhakti cannot be practiced unless until one has some assistance of some Ragatmika Bhakta, perfected associate of Krishna. So that is why Mahaprabhu came to give this Rag Marg, this path of spontaneous love for Krishna. Okay, so this is like a and we'll see this is symptom of many symptoms of bhava. One of them is not wasting a little bit moment also. Okay, so by mercy. So this was, as we discussed, practice has two paths. One is through Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, another is through Raghavanaga sadhana bhakti. Vaishnavi Mataji, her answer is question is answered now. Suchika question of Adanpu can just ask.
Yes.
Okay. Now by mercy. Now by mercy also one can get bhav. So there are three paths for that. So this is like a, you can say, honorary degree in a college. Now honorary degree is not something common. It is given to very few people. So without going through the arduous task of going through all the different semesters and giving exams, etc., one gets degree, which is normal, that is by practice. But one may get honorary degree. One may not have to work hard. So these are also three types: Vachika, through words; Darshan, by glance of a pure devotee also. Like why Nityananda Prabhu would walk and he would just glance, and people were filled with Krishna Prem. So Nityananda Prabhu's glances is the example of Darshan Dan. And also by Harda. Harda means heartfelt blessings. So simply by speaking or glancing or by good wishes, one may get bhava by mercy of a pure devotee or Krishna himself. Yeah. So we'll read the 3 examples. Please begin with the Vachika, verbal blessings. Please read.
Naradiya Purana illustrates a devotee achieving mercy through a verbal blessing. Krishna blesses Narada to achieve Bhava Bhakti, devotion service full of transcendental bliss. O best of the Brahmanas, Narada, I wish that you may develop unalloyed devotion service to me, which is full of transcendental bliss and all auspiciousness.
Yeah. So suddenly Narad Muni was already, went through the path of Vedi Sadhana Bhakti, but then he could write Nard Pancharatar, etc. because he got this Raghunaga Sadhana Bhakti and bhav in that through the verbal blessings of Krishna. Now there is Darshan Dan also. Example of Darshan Dan. Please read.
Blessings of personal appearance. Skanda Purana illustrates a devotee achieving mercy through the Lord's personal appearance. When the inhabitants of a Jangala province saw the personality of God Krishna, they were so stricken with feeling that they could not withdraw their glance from him. The inhabitants of Jangala were not qualified to see the Lord, but out of his causeless mercy, he gave them his darshan. When they glanced upon him, they became stricken with feeling, bhava, and could not look away from the Lord for a moment.
Then Harda.
Heartfelt blessings, Harda. Krishna or his devotee may bestow heartfelt blessings. Sukha Samhita illustrates heartfelt blessings from Krishna. While still within the womb of his mother, Sukadeva Goswami achieved bhava. Since he had not yet come out of the womb to see or hear the Lord, one can surmise that he attained this perfection by the Lord's heartfelt blessings.
Yeah. So Krishna blessed him, you will not be caught by Maya. So he achieved Bhav Bhakti simply by blessings of Krishna. In Jangal province, inhabitants of Jangal, they got darshan of Krishna and that is how they got Bhav. So these are mercy and they are causeless only. Somebody will say, oh, they didn't practice. Didn't practice. So somebody may say, why they didn't practice, we have to practice. It is Krishna's desire. So that's Krishna's desire. Okay. So just read these 2 paragraphs for this chapter.
Chapter 17 finishes with 2 examples of achieving bhava by the heartfelt good wishes of a devotee. The first example is Prahlad Maharaja, who received the good wishes of Narada while within the womb of his mother. The second example is Mrgari the hunter, who became an exalted devotee simply by the good wishes of Narada Muni. The southern division of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, chapters 20 to 34 of Nectar of Devotion, gives a more detailed analysis of the transcendental symptoms of bhava. Srila Prabhupada therefore states, this ecstatic love of Krishna can be divided into 5 divisions, which will be described by Srila Rupa Goswami later on. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so 5 divisions means basically 5 rasas. Santaras, Dasaras, Sakaras, Vatsalaras, Madhuras. In neutrality, Santa, when one just understands how Krishna is so great. Dasaras means when one wants to serve Krishna. Sakaras means one has that relationship of friendship with Krishna. Then Vatsalaras means when one feels that I am mother and father of Krishna. And finally, one feels I am lover of Krishna or consort of Krishna. So these 5 rasas. So this also is on Bhav Bhakti, this particular chapter. Now this chapter is very important for us because many times, especially neophytes, many a times they have this, you can say, confusion. I won't say confusion, it's like illusion. Yes, illusion. Illusion is the right word. Illusion that I am having bhava. Or sometimes certain devotees go to Vrindavan and they see somebody crying, etc. They feel that these people are having bhava. So, and it is given Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we'll see the secondary characteristics, how they are different from the reliable symptoms. So that's why this chapter is very important. Rupa Goswami is specifically given it for that. The symptoms of bhava or characteristics of bhava. Yeah. Please read this, symptoms of bhava.
One characteristic of bhava is chitta masranya, a soft heart, sensitive to Krishna consciousness emotions. Various emotional reactions like crying, shivering, faltering of the voice, etc., symptomize such softness of disposition. Any actor or actress can imitate tears, shivering, etc. It does not mean they have bhava bhakti. Furthermore, sometimes a devotee who really does have bhava may purposefully conceal these emotional symptoms and remain undetected. Therefore, external symptoms are not sufficient evidence to ascertain that a devotee has achieved bhava bhakti. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.24, Srila Prabhupada explains, Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura has very critically discussed all these bhava displays in connection with some unscrupulous neophytes imitating the above symptoms for cheap adoration. Not only Vishwanatha Chakravarti, but also Srila Rupa Goswami treats them very critically. Sometimes all the above 8 symptoms of ecstasy are imitated by mundane devotees. Therefore, a real steady bhava is definitely displayed in the matter of cessation of material desires. Shanti, utilization of every moment in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Avyartha kalatvam, eagerness for glorifying the Lord constantly. Namagane sadaruchi, attraction for living in the land of the Lord. Pritis tadvasanti stale, complete detachment from material happiness. Virakti, and pridelessness. Manasunyata. One who has developed all these transcendental qualities is really possessed of the bhava stage, as distinguished from the stone-hearted imitator or mundane devotee. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So we'll go in go to each of these. So there are unreliable symptoms which are like tears, shivering, etc. So sometimes to get some followers or cheap adoration, people exhibit it. So it has happened many times. Once one person came and he was showing like symptoms of bhava in ISKCON temple in the West. So Prabhupada said, Prabhupada, there is a Indian person who has come and he's rolling on the ground and it's like, no, he's crying and shivering. So seems to be a very advanced person. Prabhupada said that go and beat him with a stick. If he's really having bhava, he'll stay there. If he's not having bhava, he'll run away. So devotees didn't beat him, just they threw the stick and he ran away. So this is like, no, so sometimes pure devotees, like Prabhupada also once he was in Gorakhpur, then he was chanting Jai Radha Madhav and suddenly throat became choked and tears came out. And then devotees were chanting Hare Krishna. They didn't know what to do. And then devotees asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, if this happens another time, what should I do? Prabhupada said, this is not like something, it happens rarely. So those who are genuine devotees, they want to hide these symptoms, not show those symptoms. Because they don't want to want fame. People who want cheap adoration many times display it. That's why how to know somebody is in bhava or we are in bhava or not, these symptoms should be there. So we'll discuss them in detail. So just a minute. We'll go in the 9 reliable symptoms. So we'll go one by one. So this somebody is genuinely having bhava. He is not an imitator. These 9 symptoms should come. So we'll read one by one. Yes, Sitaram Prabhu. You can read first one.
Avyartha kalatvam, utilization of time, constant engagement in devotional service 24 hours a day.
Yeah. So such a devotee will find that he's always engaged in practice of Krishna consciousness. Like Prabhupada especially, he was so fast that even the young devotees were not able to match with his pace. So he would just go at a place, give programs, catch a flight, go to another place, and devotees, those who were his person servants, had difficulty because they would have jet lag and this and that, and so many problems are there. Those who have experienced jet lag, they understand. But Prabhupada was like 24. You will never see him like, no, just moving around, not doing anything. In the early days in John Lennon's house. So because not many temples were there, not much facilities were there. So there was free time. And what Prabhupada would do is just he'll hold his harmonium and he would be like chanting Vaishnava songs. And then Prabhupada would say it's like a leisure time. Leisure time is not doing anything. Not doing anything means he'll be practicing Krishna consciousness at that time. So he can't waste time just doing in some mundane gossip or doing something nonsense. So this is a symptom of bhava also. Second one is perseverance, shanti. That means one is very tolerant and has lot of patience, even if there is lot of disturbance. So especially in the initial days, for many years, Prabhupada didn't get any success in India. And he didn't knew that now whether he will become successful in the West or not. So having that patience for so many decades after decades, practically speaking, it was like a whole series of failure after failure. So he became successful, practically speaking, toward the fag end of the life only. Even after going in the West, there were so many troubles. 1 year, practically speaking, not much response. Then Prabhupada told that, okay, I will try this last program. If Krishna doesn't help me in this, that means Krishna wants me to go back. So he had a return ticket with him. He got some success in that. And after that, he got some problem, some disease. So then he went to West, and devotees were asking, if Prabhupada, you go away, what will happen? Should we contact some other disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati? So, and even after the whole movement was made, some devotees are promoting that no, he's what do we say, God. So Prabhupada had to remove them. Again, he accepted them and they corrected themselves. So many difficulties. Now we may be thinking it is such a leisure. It's like because we have developed ISKCON temples and so much facilities are there. But during Prabhupada times, it's like Prabhupada would go to any place there was construction going on. So you'll find so many photographs of Prabhupada with under constructed temples. So much tolerance. Western devotee didn't know anything. He was giving yajna, he told bring fruits. So he wanted fruit for yajna. They had cut fruits offered to Krishna and brought to Prabhupada to eat. So it's like so much of tolerance is required. The third one is virakti. Virakti means complete indifference to objects of sense gratification. You will not find that person so much absorbed in sense gratification. So this third one. Fourth is manasunyata, pridelessness. One feels humble even though one may be elevated. Like I was telling an example of this yajna. So Prabhupada was really disturbed because no preparations of yajna were there. And it was getting telecasted in the national channel. So Prabhupada was really angry, and somehow people thought this is a part of ceremony, that no guru becomes angry. So at that time, one hippie was there and he said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, why are you feeling so much disturbed? Chant Hare Krishna, be happy. And what did Prabhupada do in return? He just kept his hand in the bead bag and he started chanting Hare Krishna. So he didn't say, foolish hippie, you just picked up chanting Hare Krishna and you're teaching me what to do. So pridelessness. One doesn't have that pride. Fifth one is Asa Bandha. Asa Bandha means one has hope. Krishna will give me highest perfection. So one feels utterly low, unqualified. So he knows I am not qualified for bhakti, but Krishna will certainly bestow mercy upon me one day. So that hope is there, hope against hope. One day will come when I'll get Krishna, when I'll get Krishna bhakti, when I'll get Krishna prem. So that hope against hope is there. And in other dealings also we can see. So many difficulties came, but Prabhupada had a hope. Yeah, one day I will be able to fulfill the mission of my spiritual master. Although there were so many setbacks, it was looking in one sense that it was Krishna was discouraging. If somebody saw, like person like me would have been there, I would have thought maybe Krishna doesn't want. Now he was trying to open a center in Jhansi, and then he thought from there he will prepare people and send them to the west. Didn't work. His land was taken away. He wanted to collect money to help in promotion, and he thought with this money we will preach. Factory, there was a fire in the factory and farms, and many people whom he had given medicines didn't give back money. So whole business collapsed. So, but still had I hope that I will be able to fulfill the instruction of my spiritual master. And sixth one is Samutkantha. Samutkantha means that intense eagerness for getting pure love for Krishna, pure devotion service. One wants to somehow get one way or another. Seventh is Naam Gane Sadaruchi. One wants to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra constantly. It is Asaktistat Gunakhyane. That means there's an attachment, asakti, for what? Glorifying Krishna. So one wants to glorify Krishna. There is that difference between preaching out of passion and preaching out of love. When one wants to preach out of love, one wants to just glorify Krishna somehow or the other. And ninth is Pritis Tad Vasati Sthale. Love to stay in Lord's Dham. So then, because many times, especially new devotees, they want to go to Dham for it's like more of a change. We are bored with no office life for such a long time. Let us go to some Dham. But you take them to the same place second time, that attraction may not be there. Oh, I've already seen this place. Prabhu, take us to some other place. If like 2-3 yatras, if we have just in Vrindavan, then people say, no, we don't want in Vrindavan, we want somewhere else now. So because that attachment to Lord's Dham is not there. So, but these devotees, they have attachment to Lord's Dham. So they may visit same place again and again because it is Krishna's place. So I've personally seen some sannyasis. They go to some place and many other senior devotees also. And they pray for hours together. I really wonder, what it's like after some time, our prayers become exhausted. So these are the 9 reliable systems. So the above one, shivering, getting tears, etc. is unreliable. But these 9 are reliable. These 9 will come. So if you want to really test, I am on the level of bhav, see. Do I, waste my time in watching some YouTube videos or some news or gossiping here and there? If we don't waste, then we can say, okay, some symptom is there. If we are wasting time, those symptoms are not there. So do we have that detachment? No, it's like we see Mahaprasad not because this is Idli Mahaprasad, which I like, Sambar Mahaprasad I like, other things I don't like. So we have to see all these virakti. So they are the 9 reliable symptoms.
This is 9 reliable symptoms for Bhava Bhakti, Prabhu.
Yes, Bhava Bhakti.
Yeah.
And now 8 symptoms in neophytes or non-devotees. So sometimes some aesthetic symptoms may be visible, but this is not like permanent. So we'll see what are these. Now, please read sometimes.
Sometimes non-devotees may exhibit signs of ecstasy. This is simply an external display of mundane emotion. Genuine ecstatic symptoms are the private domain of advanced devotees with strong and exclusive attachment for Krishna. They can never appear in people attached to sense gratification or liberation. It is said by Rupa Goswami that the attachment exhibited by pure devotees for Krishna cannot possibly be perfected in the hearts of fruitive workers or mental speculators. Even those who adversely execute sadhana bhakti may not attain bhava. So that to speak of it, so what to speak of a non-devotee? So Prabhupada says this attachment is very confidentially kept by Krishna and is bestowed only upon pure devotees. Even ordinary devotees cannot have such pure attachment for Krishna. Therefore, how is it possible for success to be achieved by persons whose hearts are contaminated by the actions and reactions of fruitive activities and who are entangled by various types of mental speculations? When neophyte or non-devotees display emotions that resemble the symptom of bhava, it is known as rati bhasa, ratiya bhasa, ratiya bhasa, a mere reflection of bhava. There are 2 types of ratiya bhasa. One is pratibimba, reflective, and second is chaya, shadow.
So rati abhas or reflection of bhav. So it's not bhava but reflection of bhav. So we'll find sometimes some people who are Kali worshipper, Durga worshippers, and suddenly they go to some temple, then some sort of bhava starts appearing in them. Some emotion suddenly comes. So this is just a reflection. It's not real. Like one of the very famous Kali worshipper, he went to Baki Biari temple in Vrindavan. And then he starts seeing Krishna as Kali. Now, certainly this may be, I don't know whether it's even Rati Abhas also or not, but it may be Rati Abhas at maximum. So these are 2 types. Pratibimba. Pratibimba is basically called reflection, which we see in the mirror. And Chaya means shadow. When we come in front of sun, the shadow is visible. So first one is called Pratibimba Rati Abhas. One thing is these are not permanent. We have to understand. These are not, they happen occasionally for someone. Sometimes in neophytes or sometimes in non-devotees also. Now, please read.
Someone may execute devotional service with an ulterior motive for fugitive gain or liberation. In this case, although the motive is corrupt, the practice is usually quite intense. While performing devotional activities in the association of advanced devotees, such a person may experience symptoms that resemble ecstasy, because the genuine ecstasy of advanced devotees are reflecting upon the mirror of his heart. Srila Prabhupada explains, sometimes it is found that a person actually attached to material enjoyment or salvation has the good fortune to associate with pure devotees while they are engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord. By the good grace of the Lord, one may also cooperate and join in the chanting. At that time, simply by the association of such pure devotees, the moon-like rays from their hearts reflect on him, and by the influence of the pure devotees, he may show some likeness of attachment. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So sometimes some neophytes may go and sit with some pure devotee while they are chanting, etc. And one may start feeling some sort of ecstasy. So that's for some time, not all the time. So it may remain for few days or few months and then it goes away. At that time, we suddenly start flying and we start thinking, I'm a pure devotee now. But that doesn't stay for long. So that's called pratibimb rati abhas. It's a reflection. So the reflection is like, reflection is not the person's image as such, but reflection of person's image. Similarly, how we can remember it? It's like pure devotee's bhava is reflected in your heart. We don't have, but it is reflected in our heart because we are associating for him for some time. And sometimes it may be just sad only. Yes, please read shadow attachment. Chaya rati avas.
Sometime a person may execute devotional service out of social convention or vague curiosity. Compared to reflective attachment, this devotional service is less intense, but the motive is not nearly as corrupt. Such people may exhibit a slight resemblance of ecstatic symptoms, especially when they join Kirtana, attend big festivals, visit the holy Dhamma, or get an occasional association of saintly devotees. Srila Prabhupada explains, such shadow attachment or para attachment can develop if one associates with a pure devotee or visits holy places like Vrindavana or Mathura. And then if an ordinary man develops such attachment for Krishna and fortunately performs devotional activities in the association of pure devotees, he can also rise to the platform of pure devotional service. The previous type of rati abhasa, pratibimba, more intensely reflects bhava. It is like an image reflected in a mirror. However, in chaya rati abhasa, the symptoms are not as clearly reflected. It is more like a shadow cast on the ground. There is only a vague semblance to the original object. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada translates chaya rati abhasa as shadow attachment and pratibimba rati abhasa as reflective attachment. Srila Prabhupada describes shadow attachment as para, transcendental, even though it is less intense. Shadow attachment chaya is better than reflective attachment pratibimba because there is less ulterior motive. Correct.
So chaya is better than reflective because in chaya one has some ulterior motives and with that one practices. And in pratibimba, pratibimba, it is a ulterior motives. Chaya doesn't have. Chaya is like sometimes practicing devotees or neophytes, or sometimes non-devotees also, they attend some kirtans. And one time it did happen, one devotee was standing, Prabhu, no, just see my hairs are standing on end. Okay. After some time it will go away. Hairs stand on end even when we are in the winter season. So some ecstasy may come for some time. So, but that's like not the actual one. But it can become it may create an inspiration within the person to practice Krishna consciousness just because he got some ecstasy at some time. Oh, such experiences are also there in Krishna consciousness. That may become a driving force for him. Transforming rati avas into genuine bhava.
So the rati avas, it is said that is also because of the pure devotees association. But why it is?
Chaya rati avas. See, rati avas, both are rati avas. You're talking about chaya rati avas or pratibimba?
No, pratibimba. Pratibimba, it is said that there is ulterior motives. But that also, pratibimba is said to have some ulterior motives. But that also comes because of the pure devotees association.
Yes. So in previous one, there is asana pure devotees. In Charati Abbas, there may be some kirtans, etc. only. So here, a person may not have ulterior motive. It's not that he's going in a festival with ulterior motive. Oh, I'll get some promotion and this and that. Or I will get some child I've been longing for a long time. One may not have just such motives for attending kirtans. One may be just visiting dhams and attending some kirtans. But in previous one, because heart is contaminated with material desires, one has wrong motives. But even with the wrong motives, because he has asana pure devotee who is having bhava, we get that reflection. Is that clear, Mataji? Yeah. But such a experience can be transformed to pure devotion service. Please read.
The power of the devotees is the only cause of both semblances of ecstasy. If one serves these devotees, his imitative attachment can transform into genuine attachment. Srila Prabhupada explains, if such attachment is seen manifested even in some common man, by the association of a pure devotee, it can bring one to the perfectional stage. But such attachment for Krishna cannot be invoked in a person without his being sufficiently blessed by the association of pure devotees. In other words, the only way that can transform his imitative emotions into genuine bhava is by receiving the mercy of a pure devotee. This mercy is attained by service and blocked by offenses. If someone offends a devotee, whatever attachment he has achieved, real or imagined, will wane away to nothing. Srila Prabhupada explains, as attachment can be invoked by the association of pure devotees, so attachment can also be extinguished by offenses committed at the lotus feet of pure devotee. To be more clear, by the association of pure devotees, attachment for Krishna can be aroused. But if one commits an offense at the lotus feet of a devotee, one's shadow attachment or para attachment can be extinguished. If the offense is very serious, then one's attachment becomes almost nil. And if the offense is not very serious, one's attachment becomes second class or third class. The most offensive mentality is impersonalism. If one even associates with an impersonalist, his devotional ecstasy will wane and be extinguished. Srila Prabhupada explains, if someone becomes attached to the principles of salvation or to merging into the existence of the Brahmajyoti, his ecstasies gradually diminish into shadow and para attachment or else transform into the principles of ahangraha upasana.
Yeah, so what is ahangaro upasana means? One worships some demigods because the worship of impersonal Brahman is very difficult. And one thinks that I am worshipping myself because I am only God. So such a upasana is like is very offensive. Then all this ecstasy and everything will go away. So that's why Lord depends on service attitude and association of a pure devotee. Yeah, please read.
The person who associates with impersonalists becomes contaminated by the notion, I am God. Srila Prabhupada says, it is his view that by worshipping himself, he is worshipping the Supreme Whole. Sometimes it is found that a neophyte is taking part in chanting and dancing very enthusiastically, but within himself he is under the impression that he has become the Supreme Whole. This offensive mentality undermines any hope for advancement to genuine bhava bhakti. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So that is how main thing is, if you associate with pure devotee and get the pure motives, so then perfect. If impure motives are there, then all this temporary symptoms of ecstasy, they are extinguished. So it's already 9, but what I'll do, because only one paragraph is remaining. This is the only one remaining in this chapter. So let's complete this one. Apparently causeless bhava.
If a person who apparently has not undergone serious devotional practices suddenly manifests symptoms of ecstasy, one should not automatically assume that he is pretending or exhibiting one of the varieties of rati abhasa. His ecstasy may be genuine if it is seen that a person has developed a high standard of devotion without having undergone even the regulative principles. It is to be understood that his status of devotional service was achieved in a former life. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So sometimes some ecstasy may be there, but that's why it's not good to judge. oh, he's just imitating, he's just doing that, just doing that. It is between him and Krishna. Let him decide. But when we want to surrender, we should rely on the reliable symptoms, non-symptoms. We see non-symptoms of some, then we say we want to associate with this devotee and we want to surrender our lives. That is better to rely on the reliable symptoms and not just external. So externally, don't offend anyone. This is a principle. And when we want to surrender, be very choosy, be very careful. So that's the main thing. Yes. Attitude towards fault in devotees. The last thing we'll read and wind up.
If a person on the platform of bhava appears to have some faults, how should we understand this? Srila Rupa Goswami explains that although bhava has arisen, it has not yet completely destroyed all sinful reactions. One should disregard such faults, understanding that the devotee will soon become completely perfect by the glories forced by his devotion. Srila Prabhupada says the example is given that on the full moon, there are some spots which may appear to be pockmarks. Still, the illumination spread by the full moon cannot be checked. Similarly, a little faults in the midst of volumes of devotional service is not at all to be counted as a fault. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So just because somebody is on a Bhava Bhakti platform, it might happen sometime that somebody may be deviated for some time. So then that should not be taken very seriously, because overall he's actually practicing Krishna consciousness only. And the famous example which we discussed today is the example of Bharat Maharaj. So he was on the level of Bhava. He became deviated and even got a body of a deer. But even in the body of deer, he was a Bharat with level of Bhava. That's why he was practicing his Krishna consciousness even in the body of a deer. That means that this deer was more advanced than those who were having human bodies, or those who were sadhakas. So that is how there may be sometimes some faults in devotees, but this will not be taken. What has to be taken is that overall, are they more Krishna conscious or not? So that's the main thing. And Prema Bhakti we'll discuss in the tomorrow's class. So that's the fourth wave. So I'll stop here.
You said in Bhava Bhakti, if one gets fall down, it is because of the offense, right?
Yes.
But what about Bharata Maharaj?
Yeah. So what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says is that he did a slight offense of practicing Krishna consciousness alone and not associating with devotees. So it's like there was a subtle offense that, okay, I don't need devotees for my practice of Krishna consciousness. So then Krishna taught him a lesson. No, we need devotees. We can't practice alone. So that was a slight Vaishnava aparadha. So it was not very gross, but very subtle.
Okay, that is also considered aparadha.
That's considered aparadha actually, because when we go to spiritual world, we have to stay with devotees only. That's why Prabhupada says that it's imaginary to think that no, I can practice Krishna consciousness alone. We need also devotees. Now, we may not gel with one devotee, we may gel with another devotee, but we need some devotees. Some association is required. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we are done with Bhava Bhakti, then Prema Bhakti we'll discuss tomorrow. So today Nityananda, pray for me also. Nityananda is the deliverer of the pollen.
You pray for us to progress Krishna conscious, complete our exam successfully.
You should pray for us and bless Prabhu. We need your blessings and prayers.
Really, Guruji.
I need yours. You can bless me and pray for me. I'll also pray for you.
Let us all chant one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra for all of us. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Nityananda Prabhu ki
Jai.
Rupa Goswami